Greetings. So I'm at chess.com battling their billionaire bots, and I thought I'd do another round versus Melon Husk. And in this video, I played the black pieces. I got into some trouble in my end game, and that's what I want to make in this video. The biggest takeaway is I want to show people some do's and do not do's. Don't do what Donnie don't does in the end game. So let's take a look at this. Computer says I played 89%. Melon Husk at 83%. So let's get into it and let's see what happens here. Okay, so in the beginning, just try to control the center, and develop your minor pieces. Okay, your major pieces will come into play a little later. So, okay. Now, I know there are some dangers with this opening, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm thinking, this is doing well, and one of the things that I go for is I try to mess up my opponent's pawn structure. Excuse me. So that's what I try to do a lot of here, and so this here, I was expecting this take, but that's okay. I like messing up my opponent's pawn structure. I do have to be careful. This is a double-edged sword. So the queen is looking down at my king, and this is a semi-open file. It's semi because there's only one pawn in front of it. This would be a closed file. This is a semi-open file. Okay, so that's an advantage to my opponent, but at the same time, it's dangerous. It's like a law of yin and yang. You can't give without taking something, giving something up in return. Is when you step in front of your king like that, it's a good opportunity for a pin. And now this is what happens. So now it's definitely in my favor because look at that. You stepped in front of your king, and I did a castle. And so something to always be watched for. When you see a piece in front of your opponent's king, always look for an opportunity to pin. And it does have a way out of the pin. And so here I debated if I should take a free knight, or it's nice to do this fork here, and if the knight wants to retake, you're going to lose your queen. So is it worth it? So it's not as simple as it first looks. So I did decide to do the attack, and so now I'm forced to do a queen exchange. I'm not really forced to, but it's what I did. I do have to. Here's the danger. This F file, folks. If you're not aware, this F file is always under attack in the early game. The queen's down here on my side of the board. It makes me nervous. So I am going to go ahead and do the exchange. And now I picked up that knight, and I have to, let's look at that. So I have to cut that off, and so that's what I did. Now I'm picking up a pawn, and it's check. Now this is an open file. It's an open file, and I own it. And look at my opponent's pawn structure. Okay, double stacked pawn and isolated pawn up against the edge of the board. And then look at my pawn structure. And this is what I was going for, and I think this is the key. Okay, I do struggle to shut it down in the end game, which we'll get to. So, all right. So now I saw this coming up here a couple moves ago, but one thing that I have to be careful of. One thing when you're playing chess, always analyze your position and look at your dangers, look at your weaknesses, your strengths and your weaknesses, and then do the same for your opponent. My weakness is, this is going to be, if I don't do something here, I'm going to be in trouble, and I don't have my rooks connected. My opponent does have their rooks connected, which I like that about my opponent's position, as in that's good for my opponent, bad for me. I got to develop these pieces because one piece by itself can't do much. And so I got a knight out there, hopping around, but it needs the aid of another piece. I do like the fact that I own this open file, but all right, let's continue. So because this is protected, my whole game hinges on this, because if my opponent ever gets a rook down here, I'm done for. without that defense. So, all right. So here's something that I want to point out. I am up 2 pawns, I believe. Yes, I'm up 2 pawns, and a minor piece. We both have 1 major. My opponent has 1 major, 1 minor. I got 1 major, 2 minors. So at this point, this is one of the big takeaways from this video. Whittle this down to an easy end game. If you're up pieces, just keep changing down. And if you're down pieces, don't go for exchanges. Okay. Having said that, I got to get this stuff going here. Alright. I wanted to free up the white squares because I have a white square bishop. My opponent has a dark square bishop. So I want to stay off the dark squares and get my pieces freed up to move on the light squares. Okay, so that piece is now defended. Alright, so we're going to check. Piece is defended. Okay. Alright, so like I said, I'd love to just keep doing exchanges. And so I will force an exchange because now I'm making it easier and easier. My opponent has 1 minor, I have 2 minor. Okay, and I'm up 2 pawns. So there we go. I got these guys are on the light square, so they can't. It really comes down to the king. And one thing towards end game is you want to get your king towards the center. And mine is tucked away still. I don't like that about my position. I've sacrificed some other things. I've sacrificed this to do some other things, but now it's time that I've got to get that king to work. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay. This side, my thinking is this side can take care of itself. Okay, they're on light squares. The king's going to have to come over and do stuff. And I need to take care of this problem, is what my sights are on. I hate stepping on a green square because I can be checked at any time. And now my opponent owns these 2 squares, so this side is fine. I need to focus on this side of the board. Okay. And so there's some exchanges. So I'm trying to get rid of this pawn is what I'm trying to do. Okay. So I got to get that knight to work, and there it is. And I think my opponent, I was kind of expecting an exchange, but then the game is for sure lost. So, but my opponent has to keep on to their 1 and only minor piece. So now I've got a good chance of promoting. And here's where I think I get a little sloppy with what I'm doing here. I've set this guy up to run as blocker for this bishop, so I can take. Okay, and then promote. And this knight owns this square too, by the way. So I use this pawn as a blocker. And I should have got my king out here and cut this off, but there I finally get smart about it. Check. And I hated to do this because I know it's going to be take, but then it's also going to be immediately take. So that bishop was just causing me a world of trouble. So now I'm free to, and I'm sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. Usually in this situation, what you want to do is, you want to get your king up high on top of the pawn and then promote the pawn up. But you want your king on top of your pawn, not underneath. And so now we need to watch out for a stalemate. I like to make just a smaller box. And remember, you're going to need the aid of another piece, whichever one you choose, it's fine. But one piece by itself can't do much. I say that over and over again in all my videos. But so let's build a box and whittle this down and watch out for stalemates. Make sure your opponent has a place to go, and they do. Great. And there we go, and then that's me. Okay, so I hope that helps. The biggest takeaway from this is to use your pieces together. And once you get up a piece or a handful of pawns or something, just keep doing exchanges, whittle it down to an easier end game. And that's what happened here. Use your king. It took me a little while to get my king out there. I feel like my opponent got the drop on me as far as getting the king out there. So get your king out there at the beginning, control the center. I always look to mess up my opponent's pawn structure. I think that really helped me in the game. People say, well, that's not much of an advantage. You're still, material-wise, you're still the same, and the pawn really isn't even a piece, so who cares? I don't know. I think it makes a lot of difference in this game. This isn't the first time I've battled Melon Husk, and I think messing up the opponent's pawn structure will help. It's one of the strategies that I always use. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope this helps, and as always, have a great day.